apparently, where I don't know how to work my technology. Apologies in advance. But yes, I'm so glad that you all are here. Thank you so much for joining me. And with these forecast sessions, my desire is to keep it grounded, to keep it practical, to keep it easy for you to move with. May is asking of that of us anyway. It's mostly going to be me talking, so feel free to be on screen or not. That's totally up to you. This is the May forecast, Warrior Mermaid style. So that means it's designed specifically for the soul-led creators in the group who have a vision and are looking to bring it into manifestation. And this is a 30-minute session, so I'm going to keep it nice and tight for you guys because I know we're all very busy and have lots of stuff going on at home and in our lives. And before we dive in, though, let me just ask you guys. I'd love to hear what's going on for you, what's lighting you up. A lot of you were with me last month for the April forecast, so I'm just very curious to hear how everybody's April has been going. Anything that is exciting you, lighting you up, or challenging you from this month of April? It's definitely been a whoosh of forward movement for most of us. So I suppose it's just a little bit difficult to get your grounding when you shift speeds so quickly. I think that's how it feels to me, is like, oh, we're moving so much faster and I'm just like trying to keep up a little bit. And what's lighting me up, I am packing right now. I'm getting ready to go to Croatia. I leave tomorrow morning, so I'm excited for that and excited to see how this May forecast plays out for me on the other side of the world. And yeah, so I don't see anybody else sharing. That's fine. If you like to keep it to yourselves, that's okay too. I don't mind.
Well, I have some thoughts, but
Okay,
do you,
give
and
us
Kelly,
Keely.
because I'm used to being on Zooms with you when there's like three or four people, like the Astro ladies, and we'd all just jump in whenever. Do you prefer if people raise their hand first or
Let's see. I'm gonna try to keep this tight to like 30 minutes. So how about if I say let's just hold questions till the
okay?
end? That way, anybody who wants to stay on longer, I have time. I definitely can stay on and chat, but anybody who needs to run, you can run. And I think that'll work well. And hopefully you won't forget your questions in the meantime. But yeah, before we get started, let's just take a moment to arrive together. So I invite everyone, just take a nice deep breath in and let it go. Let your shoulders drop, let your body land, let your self just sink into this space. It's not about trying to figure everything out. It's really just about feeling into what is true and noticing what's resonating for you. Oh, Dwayne has a comment in here. I'm just going to mention before we get going. So April's been incredible. That's awesome, Dwayne. I'm happy to hear that. The highlight was meeting Dr. Joe Vitale. Oh, very nice. And presenting him with your book. Oh, super exciting. I want to hear more about that later, Dwayne. You and I need a catch-up call. Um, yeah, so April was about our fire horse beginning to move, and we've probably all felt that in different ways. I think it's exciting on the one hand. It can also feel a little anxious. And that's okay. We're just adjusting and shifting into this new weather. And May is going to take us one step further or one step deeper into this, not just moving, but the way you could really think about May is moving with direction. Our fire horse is now learning how to adjust to the terrain while keeping up its forward momentum. So we'll kind of step through the month here together. I'm going to take you through the early part of the month, the middle of the month, the end of the month. And then before we close out, we'll do a little guided reflection, contemplation kind of exercise just to bring it really deeper into our body and let it settle in us. And we'll pull a card from my business astrology deck that will just be a little bit of a clarification and an insight for the group who's on the call or anybody who's watching this after. It's more of a
Your
collective
network isn't very
reflection.
good.
What's going
I'm
on?
gonna mute
We have
everybody.
application.
And like I said, we'll ask questions at the end, so I'm happy to stay on after for a bit if you have questions specific to you or anything that we talk about today. So let's jump right in. We're going to talk about early May 1st. Early May 1st. That sounds funny. It sounds like I'm talking about the date. Early May. This part of the month is really dedicated to truth, and you might think about it as descent as well, because we're starting the month off boldly with a Scorpio full moon, and that is on May 1st, and that's going to really pull us underneath the surface of everything that started to move in us in the month of April. So you might start to notice like what feels like your true direction is beginning to unfold. So if you felt like May or April was kind of chaotic, May might start to give you a little bit more sense of where you're headed, and what feels like effort at this point, that you're trying to hold something together that maybe doesn't want to be part of the forward movement, doesn't want to be part of the direction, because there's just a lot of stuff coming into our field, and not all of it is for us or for us in this moment. So that Scorpio full moon is going to give us the challenge of that and give us the opportunity to really get more clear on that deeper level of what's truly for us right now. And we do have some challenging transits coming in along with that full moon energy. Also on May 1st, we're going to have Mercury meeting Chiron in Aries. And just after that, on May 5th, Mars in Aries is going to square Jupiter in Cancer. And this energy might bring with it a moment of realization for you. Like, not everything you started is meant to continue, or it's not meant to continue as is. Some things are going to need refinement, some things need simplification, and some things we just need to release. We just need to let them go. And then on May 6th, Pluto is going to turn retrograde. So that's our first planet going into retrograde for this year. Well, not counting Mercury. We did have a Mercury retrograde, but all the big planets, they do turn retrograde at some point every year. And Pluto's leading it off here. And it's going to shift us from what felt like sort of like simple, I don't know, surface level kind of movement that was happening for us in April. Pluto's going to bring us into a deeper transformation process with that. And Pluto's a slow mover, so this isn't going to be something that you feel or that happens all at once for you. True transformation is a long process. We think of it like the caterpillar's metamorphosis into a butterfly. It takes some time, right? And we turn into a sticky pile of goo in the process. But in this moment, what you might begin to feel with Pluto's shift into retrograde is what's actually yours to carry, what isn't, and maybe just the beginnings of the ideas about that. And that realization isn't going to come for you by doing more, but it's going to come through being more honest with yourself. And oh my goodness, I'm seeing all these lovely faces. Nice to see you, Angela. And Lisa and Aya. And I know there's a bunch of people who are not on my screen right now. So everybody who I don't see, I see you anyway. I see you heart to heart. Mid-May is going to take us into more of a phase of grounding and commitment. There's a lot of Taurus energy available for us in mid-May, which is nice. It's really stabilizing that Aries energy. We've already got the sun in Taurus. And by the middle of the month, like May 10th to the 14th, Sun and Mercury are going to be really close to each other, and they're just kind of like going through Taurus hand in hand, which is really just nice for bringing us some clarity. And we can actually feel it in our body, because Taurus is very much a body sign. So it's not just about like mental clarity, but that sort of more embodied clarity that feels like you can just kind of like exhale, like, let the body settle. And you're feeling into what's working and what's sustainable. Sustainable is a really good word for Taurus. You know, what can we carry for the long haul? What's actually going to hold for us? Yeah, feel free to be on camera or off camera, everybody. It's totally up to you, anybody who joined after I mentioned that. On May 16th, we have the new moon in Taurus, so more Taurus energy coming at us. And with as with all new moons, this new moon is an opportunity to anchor into a new intention. But with Taurus energy, you maybe want to shift the question from what do I want to start, like that intention for initiation, to more like, what am I ready to sustain? Because again, Taurus wants to build something sustainable or wants to support something sustainable. So this is where your movement is going to begin to take root, where ideas that were swirling around on the mental level begin to take more form, become more manifested, and where direction is asking you for real commitment. Can I commit to this direction that I see for myself? At the same time, that April 16th date, we have Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries. So there's a little edginess there. You might feel some discomfort around being seen, around taking action, around fully owning your direction, like, you know, really committing to the direction. And the invitation is simple here, like just move with it anyway. Don't abandon yourself in that process, but keep moving. All of 2026, really all of it, is asking us to move into more sovereignty. And this is a point where we really have to make a choice about that. It's not just going to happen for you or just, you know, land in your lap, but rather something you have to decide and choose. I think that's a really good word. If you want to write down kind of keywords for May, choice. I think choice is a big word for May. And even when it's uncomfortable, you have to choose the movement that is aligned with your own truth. No one else can do that part for you because nobody else feels that truth the way you do. There is a mid-May shift that happens where things kind of start to speed up again. Between May 17th and 18th, we have a whole bunch of transits coming in. We've got Mercury entering Gemini and meeting up with Uranus. Uranus just went into Gemini yesterday evening for, well, pretty much I think for everybody on the call. Pacific time zone, it was like a little bit earlier than if you're Central or Eastern time zone, but for all of us, it was kind of yesterday evening. And if you were on with me last month, we were talking about that in more detail. And if you want more detail and you weren't on last month, you can go back and find the recording on my website. I have a link to it there. So that's a really powerful movement. Good to know about what is happening with Uranus and Gemini, because it's going to be there for the next 7 years. So it's really setting up a longer cycle for us. But Mercury's going to be in contact with Uranus mid-May. Mars is going to make its movement into Taurus. And then Venus is going to move into Cancer. So a lot of planets are moving around, right? And these shifts change the energetic dynamic, and we're definitely going to feel that, like ideas multiplying. That's that Mercury-Uranus energy, conversations expanding, new opportunities showing up really quickly. And that's exciting and amazing, but it's also can be where we lose our footing a little bit, because not everything that is coming in is something that we're meant to follow. And it's not about lack of clarity probably at that point. It's really like too many options, too many things on the table. And if we try to do all of it, what's going to happen? We're going to scatter our energy, right? So again, we're back to this idea we have to make choices in May. And the trick of it is, it's like discernment in motion. That's kind of the power where the power lives in May, is that we are not really able to like step out of the game, but rather actually have to make choices and be discerning while we're moving forward at the same time. That fire horse is tricky. In late May, the story is pressure and precision. So by the final stretch of the month, the energy is deepening again. On May 26th, the sun is going to meet Uranus in Gemini. That's going to break something open for us. Perhaps it's a sudden realization that comes through for you. Perhaps it's a shift in how you see yourself, how you see your circumstances, in how you show up, how you speak your truth. And then just a few days later, we shift again. So I don't know if you can feel this, but we really have the terrain that keeps changing in May. And we're really having to continue to be responsive as we're like going left and then right and then moving backwards and then forwards. There's that definite movement of, that definite sense of energy being a little bit wild in May, with just all these ups and downs and backs and forths and rights and lefts. May 25th, there's really this sort of compression in the energy. Mars is going to square Pluto. Mercury is going to oppose Lilith. The sun is going to square the nodes. That can all feel like a lot of pressure to our minds. There's like urgency in that, the need to push, the need to prove. Maybe we want to force clarity at that point because, we don't like that sense of not having clarity. But it's really not a moment designed for force. It's a moment that is asking for clean power to move from alignment, to speak with precision, not over explaining ourselves, to choose our direction without rushing. And thinking hard is not going to get us there. If you're feeling a need to push, if you're feeling pressure to make something happen, here's my invitation to you. Let it go. Go play outside instead. Give yourself that opportunity to step back from all that pressure. It's going to be a lot more productive for you, honestly, to give yourself a break in those moments when it just feels like things are too tight. Get out of your head, create space for the answers to drop in, alignment, direction, precision. Those happen naturally when we're at ease. I know everybody's had the experience of you just have this great idea that drops in spontaneously when you're in the shower, or maybe it's like for you when you're out on a stroll. It's because we're out of our heads in those moments, and it allows for the movement that doesn't happen when we're really trying to make it happen. A little bit backwards, I guess, but that's how it is. The end of the month brings in the perspective. It kind of softens, something stabilizes. May 26th through the 28th, we've got Sun trine Pluto, and we've got Venus square Saturn. So those bring in some clarity around what's real. Saturn's big on real, and what you're no longer available for. It's nice to be clear on that in our minds, right? And then the full moon in Sagittarius on May 31st is going to give us some lifted perspective. We can finally get out of the weeds and see what matters, what doesn't matter, what's really worth continuing. Many of you have heard me talk about the spring season as the gate 2 of the Phoenix dawn. It's this space to try things on, to experiment, to be light, to be playful. And by the end of May, you're going to begin to have a sense of what's right for you and what really works with who you are, just through that process of being experimental, being playful, being open to what wants to come into your field. So just trust yourself in that. So if we zoom out, May is not asking us how much can you do. It's asking you, can you stay flexible and adjust your fire horse's direction with the terrain? As the pace continues to quicken and the demands from the environment around you continue to grow, you have choices to make this month about where your energy goes and where it doesn't go, and paying attention to what really feels good in your body, trusting your instincts, and just believing in the direction revealing itself effortlessly. That's something that we all have to remind ourselves of when we feel that pressure coming in. So I would love to do a little guided visualization with you to help you drop this deeper into your body. So I will invite everyone to close your eyes and feel free to stay on camera or take yourself off camera. But take a nice deep breath in and let it out. Let's do that one more time together. Breathing in through your nostrils. Releasing your exhale out through your breath. Now imagine yourself in a wide open landscape. The fire horse is there and it's already moving. This fire horse is not racing, it's not chaotic, but it's in motion. And you're with it. Notice as you move with the fire horse how the terrain around you is changing. The path before you, it's not perfectly straight. There are some turns, adjustments, shifts in direction. And instead of resisting this, You allow your body to relax and you begin to move with it. You feel your body adjusting, your awareness sharpening. As you move, ask yourself gently, what direction is becoming clear for me now? What am I being asked to stay with? What am I being asked to release? It's absolutely okay if all the answers are not there yet. I invite you to stay with these questions and allow them to continue to unfold through you this month. Feel the steadiness beneath the movement, the clarity that's there within the motion. When you're ready, take another nice deep breath in. Bring yourself back gently, opening your eyes as you feel ready. And I'm going to put these questions into the chat for you. So if you would like to write them down, as I said, it would be a great idea to keep them with you. Maybe put them on a sticky note, place them somewhere that you're going to be able to see them throughout the month, whether that's on your computer monitor or maybe it's your refrigerator, or put them in your journal. It's really a great idea. Put the sticky note in the journal and then just remember to move it as you flip the pages day to day. And those questions will give you some continued reflection as you're moving forward through this coming month and adjusting your movement and adjusting your direction. What direction is becoming clear for me right now? What's crystallizing? What am I being asked to stay with? What am I being asked to release? I can assure you, if you stay with these questions, the answers are going to be more and more clear to you by the end of May. And that's going to feel good, and it's going to feel stabilizing and anchoring. So at this point, I am going to pull a card for us. And as I said earlier on, this comes from my business astrology oracle. So it's very much aligned to people who are in the active space of visioning and creating, as most of you are as soul-led creators. And if you don't have a soul-led creator project that you're currently working on, I think you will still find some wisdom in this card that you can apply anywhere in your life, because as I always tell my soul-led creators, your business and your creation, your manifestation of your vision is really an extension of you and your life. So let's see what card we have here on the top. This is Juno. I'm going to hold on a second. Let me change my settings so you guys can see this better, because I think I have it making me look lovelier, which is nice. A little bit of blur, but less ideal when I'm trying to show you a card. So, all right, let's see here. Can everybody see that? Juno, there's our head. And the word at the bottom is commitment. How perfect is that? I swear to God, guys, I pull these cards from the deck live. I did not prepare it ahead of time. I know everybody's like, yeah, you did. Sure you did. But I always think it's super cool. The reality is energy is always moving with us. And so, it's never a surprise to me. And yet at the same time, it's always a delight how things just, magically align. So Juno, commitment, the keywords, faithfulness, persistence, and also diplomacy. So it says, Juno reminds you that all good things take time, persistence, and focus. She knows that the greatest joy comes from seeing things through. Her familiar is the peacock, reminding you that there is a time to shine and a time to focus on the work. Sometimes your feathers are fanned out, and at other times they are hidden. And the peacock also reminds you that it is safe to be big, bold, and to take up space in pursuit of your dreams. This is another question you can ask yourself. What would it look like for me to go all in this month? And it's safe for my business and my life to be on display in all its radiance. So I'll show you that card one more time. I'll put it in my Facebook with the information as well later. So I think most of us are connected on Facebook, and if not, feel free to friend me and stay in touch. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to questions. Does anybody want to lead off? And you're welcome to put your questions in the chat, or you can raise your hand and I'll call on you to talk either way.
Okay, I'm just going to jump in.
Go, here we go.
Like the obnoxious journalist I am. Anyway, um, so I had the same question that I kind of like posed to you earlier, and I'm kind of like zonked out. So if you like went through it, I apologize. Um, I know they're like it feels like they're like three or four different signs that are like in of course Taurus because because Uranus was in Taurus for the last several years
Yeah.
that are being more affected by this shift into Gemini. And I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around what that really means because like you, I've like had a lot of Uranian transits over the last couple of years, even though I don't think I'm one of the signs that everybody says like as a Libra, that has been like really affected.
Mm.
But then I don't know, like all the transits over the last 7 years feel like I've just felt like I've been like hit by a Mack truck or something like that. Like I'd get energetic and everything and get all excited about stuff and be moving along. And then like Saturn or something would just smack me on the head, is kind of like my description of how things had been feeling. So I'm really excited for the new energy and the fire horse, because I'm an air sign, so I could always use a kick in the butt. But
Otherwise, you just stay all in your head.
That's right. Well, yeah, which is why I'm like all over the place right now with it with the energy from the last 2 weeks. It's like,
Yeah.
so
Okay, so the first part of the question is like, how does Gemini moving into Taurus shift things, particularly because you've been seeing a lot of things online about maybe it's going to be easier for people with their sun in Taurus or in Aquarius or Scorpio or Leo. That's of course because those are the signs that are experiencing conjunctions when Uranus is in Taurus, or squares or opposition, which are all like strong influence, energetic influence on us. I would say, I don't know. I feel like it's oversimplifying things to say that it's going to get easier for people in those signs because we're only looking at that one factor, Uranus, right? But there's all these other factors. What about Pluto? What about Neptune? What
but this is the Achilles heel that you and I both have as astrologers is I mean some people I do feel like they're doing some sort of like back of the cereal box like astrology, which just like makes my teeth hurt. But you and I go in the total other direction and we're like, you can't really say unless you look at a person's chart. You know what I mean? And it's
a
like
lot
you
going
can
on.
make some statements that are global,
Yeah.
about like mundane or like what's going on, like what I think of what you and I kind of describe as like the astrological energy, that's going on. I think you can do that, and I agree with you about the caveat of like, you know, people need to be aware because you're right. And I think you drill down even more than I do because you look at like I don't really look at degrees. Like, oh, so Uranus and Gemini is at 29 degree, blah blah blah. I mean, I think you go even more like deeper than I do into some of that. I'm more like, as you said, I like to read across I use the angles. because I want to come up with some general stuff. I like looking at patterns. I like, going like 10,000 feet up on some of it.
Yeah.
But
I think
so,
houses are the
and I
other.
know you hate to do that, but I'm going to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think houses are the other part, right? Like, okay, so Uranus is moving out of Taurus into Gemini, but I can tell you, like, in my own chart right now, sure. But when Uranus was in Taurus, it was in my 12th house the whole time. So that was happening very internally and in a very different space than, oh, guess what? In Gemini, it's now in my first house. Well, I suspect with Uranus being in my first house, that it's not going to get easier for me, like it's going to get that much more real because now it's in my body space.
But you have been like the way your chart is set up anyway during that whole time frame, even though it was in the 12th house, that's where your sun is too. So like a lot of this is already and for everyone about identity. And first house is about identity.
Mhm.
So, I mean,
So my
you
point
know,
is just like I think it
well,
really
so you've already been working on this stuff, so it'll probably be easier, right? Because it's not like oh my gosh, all of a sudden I need to do this. I mean,
maybe it
you've
should be
been
more clear. I mean, I should be more aware, right, with it being in my first house than my 12th.
well, and I think you've done the work, but somebody else has a question.
Yeah, Sarah's asking in the chat, she's a Gemini, but it's a similar question. What does it mean for Gemini on the rising sign ascending or Gemini on your North Node? If you have major Gemini placements, I think you're going to like the way this energy feels in a sense because it's just a lot more fast moving. Uranus moving through Taurus was kind of like slow and plodding and tended to give us big jolts because it doesn't move smoothly in Taurus. It's like earthquake energy, volcano energy, because it like Uranus has a lot of power. It builds up all this pressure in Taurus and then it just, and most of us don't like that. That's like not good kind of surprises, right? Whereas in the sign of Gemini, which is an air sign, it's like moving much more smoothly. Like, you're like an airplane flying through the air, right? Like cruising speed, right? Um, at the same time, that feels really fast. So if you're a sign that is a little slower, like Taurus, it kind of feels like, oh God, can we slow this down just a little bit? Like, and especially because Uranus is very like, it's not linear. It bounces around, it moves around in different directions, and so that feeling of May, like moving forward, moving back, shifting left, shifting right, up, down, like that's very Uranian, and that's part of why we're getting that energy coming in May is we're starting to feel this new way of being with Uranus in Gemini. But like I say, I think overall, like Gemini's placements should actually kind of enjoy this energy because it feels faster. It feels like more the pace they like to move at.
So, from the perspective of the fact that Gemini rules or Mercury rules Gemini, and I feel like we all communicate. So, if you look at it from like an overall perspective, I mean, is that, besides the fact that, outer planets tend to affect everybody to a certain degree, um, I mean, so I mean, this is affecting everyone like globally anyway. It's just like it's degrees, and depending on your chart, you can really drill down on like how much it's going to shake you up. Is that accurate?
Yeah. Like if anybody, wants to take a deeper dive into their chart and really look at, where does this land in your chart? I will, love to help you with that, Keely. I know you can do that for yourself. But
Well,
yeah, anybody who, even if you have like, kind of a basic level of understanding about how to read your chart, I would say, yes, get it out, look at it, see where is that beginning of Gemini in your chart. Where does it land? What house is that in? And then you're going to have more of a sense of what part of your life is impacted by this new kind of energy and where is it going to be asking you to change the way that you experience life. For me in the first house, I mean, it's kind of everything, right? Because the first house is identity, it is the body, it is, but for you, it might show up, say, in your seventh house, and then it would be about relationships. Or if it shows up in your 10th house, it's going to be about your work life and your career and who people recognize you as. And so, yeah, I think it really depends a lot on where it is in your chart. And it depends on your architecture, how much you like the feel of this energy. Um, let's see, Lisa, you were asking about, what about a Pisces? Goddess creator, love that. Pisces is square to Gemini, so chances are there's a point at some point it's going to Uranus is going to square your sun, and Uranus in contact with the sun is um, not the easiest. I had Uranus conjunct my sun in Taurus, so I've felt the intensity of that energy. I personally, I've decided to make friends with Uranus, and I really like that Uranus gives us breakthroughs. And I always think of it like Uranus like just switches the light on, and it's like everything becomes clear. I always feel like I was bumping around in the dark, smashing my toe into things because I really didn't know where I was. And then all of a sudden I get this bright illumination, and it's like, oh, that's what this is about. Oh, this is what's going on here. And it's just really, really like exciting in that sense to like suddenly just see how it all fits together. But it can be uncomfortable too because it causes disruption, and it, causes surprise, which we all know surprise can be fun and delicious, or surprise can be not so great. Wasn't ready for that. So they would say it could go either way. But what house is your sun in, Lisa? Do you know? I mean, Uranus
Right.
is a lot for me about spiritual awakening because it was happening in my 12th house in Taurus. So,
Sun in I think, is it Virgo or Taurus? So I forget.
oh yeah, and I was thinking of house, but we can look at your chart offline sometime, Lisa, if you want to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey,
Let's,
thank you. Thank you for that, Kelly.
yeah, you're welcome. And it looks
It was
like
a wonderful.
Sarah, I think I answered your question. Keely, you got another question for me?
Did you really want to go back to me, especially as like long as my questions are today? No, you
What's
no
going
you
on in
no
your
you
chart,
answered.
Keely?
I know I feel like you answered my question. It seems like it sounds like Taurus and some of the water signs are the ones that are most affected by this transition. Is that what you were saying, or?
Well, Pisces is square to Gemini, so that's why I would say that one will at some point, you'll feel it, especially like if your sun's there, because it's gonna square your sun, and Uranus in a square position to your sun is not the most comfortable thing in the world. But on the other hand, there's just such enormous potential for breakthrough and really to elevate your awareness that for me it feels worth it. Angela says, what does square mean? Good question, Angela. So square is an aspect, or we also would call it a transit with an outer planet like Uranus transiting our sun. A square is tense energy. It doesn't feel easy. It feels like there's friction there. But on the other hand, that's exactly the growth, right? Because we don't grow when we're in the comfort zone. Generally, it's like, too soft and cushy. So when a square happens, what it's really doing is asking you to move, asking you to grow, asking something to shift and change within you. And when you lean into that and you rise to that, then it is really powerful to move you forward. But if you choose to ignore it or resist it, it tends to be a lot harder because it wants you to move. Yeah. So anybody who's got squares, it's as much as like we don't like getting uncomfortable, look at the bright side, you get to grow. Growth is what we're here for.
Thank you for that definition, because actually that does feel like what is happening in my square right now, where I am, what I'm experiencing. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, I'm on the cusp of a breakthrough. So thank you for actually clarifying that.
I like breakthrough.
Kelly, you do more readings than I do. I'm kind of interested, just like generally, um, going back to the moving into Gemini and Uranus questions. I'm like totally fascinated with that anyway from like an AI perspective because we really like this is monumental. Um, are you are you seeing because I know like in both of our charts, it's like it's in my seventh house, so I'm like, yay, my marriage, relationships, contracts. Um, are you, does it, so it's, and both of us have had like a lot of like Uranian changes over the last 7 years, but are you seeing that with with other people that you're doing readings for? Is there anybody that it's falling in their chart in such a way that it's like a real like they're really easing into this new energy, or is it like a rocket ship for everybody?
I think it's a rocket ship for everybody. And I'll tell you why. It's because it's the last outer planet to change signs, too. Like in the last 18 months, we've been in this like transition process with each of the outer planets in turn taking their time to move into their new sign. And Uranus is following up in the rear, and now everything has changed signs. So we are really like in this new era, this new age, whatever that means. And I mean, so I don't think there's anybody who's not feeling that. And of course, we see it on the collective level too. I mean, we've experienced so much over the last 7 years, and it's like now we're sort of closing that transitional chapter and like stepping into full force ahead. And most of us don't know what that energy feels like yet, right? Because we haven't experienced it before in our life. So it feels different and it feels fast for everybody, especially with the fire horse. And yeah, it's just a lot of movement for everybody.
But I mean, it's going to be smoother too because like,
Mhm.
I mean, Taurus is Earth, so Earth matched up with Uranus was just uncomfortable
Mhm.
because Taurians do not like to move fast.
No, exactly. That's what I say. Yeah. I mean, that
And
energy.
and the shadow side of Taurus is stubborn, so it's like you're dragging a bull along with change.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so Uranus, its ability to create growth and change and breakthrough in Taurus was so like it came in bursts, right? So that's why it has that feeling of like really jolting us in Taurus, as opposed to much smoother in Gemini, where things just are flowing. I mean, I just love the idea of thinking about where we will be in the mid 2030s once Uranus completes this phase of Gemini, because I think we're going to feel like the 20s were the dark ages. Like we're going to be in such a different place because things are going to be moving so quickly. Warp speed ahead.
Warp speed back to the 1920s. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you compared it to like modern times at all? Because it feels like the 90s to me again. Maybe because I was in my 20s and I was young and energetic and like felt like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Maybe.
it's totally been feeling like the 90s and I haven't like even looked to see, because I wasn't alive like, during World War II, so I have no frame of reference for that, other than like what I read about in history books.
Interesting.
But
I haven't thought about that specifically, Keely, but I'm gonna think about it since you bring it up. But, but yeah, no, I like.
well, we haven't gone down the rabbit hole together on astrological researches in a while, so maybe we can do that in this new year.
It's always fascinating to see, with any of the planets, like what was happening the last time that it was in that sign. What was happening the last time it was in contact with such and such planet, because it does give us a lot of insight about what happened before, and we see like a new version of that happening. But it has, a lot of the same flavors of what we've been through before. So, um, yeah, like you say, I mean, it's been 84 years since Uranus was in Gemini, so nobody here really has a context for that. Even if I got my 91-year-old friend here on the call, she probably doesn't remember that time too well. She was pretty young, so so yeah, I mean, for all of us, it's new territory and something that we don't have a reference point for. So yeah, Yeah, and at the same time, 84 years ago, Pluto was not in Aquarius. So that's a difference too, right? Like all of these planets falling into different signs and how they interact with each other in these different energies gives it the uniqueness of it being today and not World War II or the 1920s, Well, what do you guys think? Do we have more questions? It's quiet. Okay, so I'm going to wrap it up here and just remind you of where you want to go in May. May is a powerful month, and that's not because of how much is going to happen, but it's because of how much is going to be clarified. So, really leaning into clarifying for yourself this new direction. You don't need to do more, but you do need to move with direction. You need to know where you're going. So come back to this, choose what you want to carry. That word is so important this month. Choose. Release what you don't. Stay present, keep choosing what feels true to you. And if you're feeling that sense of, I know something is shifting, but I want more clarity about my direction, I really encourage you to just go to my website and check out the Soul Vision experience. It's a little free guided visualization that will take you maybe 10-15 minutes. And it's really all about reconnecting with your inner direction. It's asking you the question, what am I ready for? What am I ready for now? So if that resonates, I will drop my website link in the chat and you can check it out. There you go. And thank you guys so much for being here, for your presence and your energy and your openness. And I am going to leave it with that. And like I say, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or you want to talk more about your chart. I'm going to be in Croatia, but I am still available. I have time on my calendar. It's just going to be a different time zone. So um, this is great. Love you all. I don't have June's forecast date ready yet, but it'll be towards the end of May. So when I have that ready, I'll put it out through all my channels so you know when you can be back and check out what's going to be turning and what's going to be coming up for you in June.
Thanks. Thanks, Kelly. Always really insightful.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. You all are very, very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great to see you.